Hey, what is up everybody? It is your boy Evan coming to you with another video, right? So on this Saturday, I wanted to go ahead and get this video out before I start traveling. That's right, I'm leaving town again, but this time for a friend's birthday. It's not as much business, so hopefully I have a good time. I just got paid as well, so I'm looking forward to getting my hair done soon. I need a haircut, I need my hair braided. I am tired of this caveman Mexican Jesus-esque fro that I keep hidden inside my beanie. Anywho, so you may have heard some talks recently about Trump ending discussions of trade with Canada, but this also leads to greater conversations about where tariffs have put us in the national debt. So before we get into the article that I have brought up for you, I would really appreciate if you can meet me at my tariff. You get to watch this content, and in return I'm gonna get your comment, like, and subscription. Sounds fair? I think it's fair. I'll give you a second to do that. Did you do it? Alright guys, let's go ahead and get into this. So the AP News writes, Trump says he's terminating trade talks with Canada over tax on tech firms. President Trump said Friday that he's suspending trade talks with Canada over its plan to continue with its tax on technology firms, which he calls a direct and blatant attack on our country. Trump, in a post on his social media network, said Canada has just informed the US that it is sticking to its plan to impose digital services tax, which applies to Canadian and foreign businesses that engage with online users in Canada. The tax is set to go into effect Monday. Now, let's just take a look at that, right? America doesn't export a whole lot at the moment, but one thing that we do export is some of our digital services. The fact that a tax is being put on it, it directly hinders what little exports we can do. So I could see the concern with this. Not to mention, we're in the middle of a trade discussion and you're going to slap on a tax on us. You couldn't maybe wait a little bit or maybe keep this to your domestic market. But no, you choose to slap a tax on us in the middle of trade discussions, right? Based on this egregious tax, we are hereby terminating all discussions on trade with Canada effective immediately. We will let Canada know the tariff that they will be paying to do business with the United States of America within the next 7-day period, Trump said in his post. Boom! Just like that, bro. As soon as we get some blockage or pushback in a trade discussion, tariff. Now, a lot of people don't seem to understand about these tariffs is, yeah, if you took basic economics, you know that tariffs aren't always great for your country. Usually it leads to less total revenue. However, America is a very different type of market. And I'm going to show you that a little bit later on in this video. But what you need to know for the moment is that Trump uses tariffs, one, as a source of bargaining, right? He brings it to the table and says, if you don't want this, you better meet me here. But on the other hand of things, and I'll show you this later in the video, Trump's tariffs are surprising a lot of economists and surprising a lot of his critics with the amount of revenue they're bringing in. It's almost like a classical America tariff income. Trump's announcement was the latest swerve in the trade war he launched since taking office for a second term in January. Progress with Canada has been a roller coaster, starting with the US president poking at the nation's northern neighbor and repeatedly suggesting it would be absorbed as a US state. Honestly, that statement has a lot more truth to it than some people might think. Look at Alberta. If you get a chance, Google Alberta secession. They are seriously looking at leaving Canada. That doesn't mean necessarily that they're going to be a US state, but I think that once they secede from Canada, if they can secede from Canada, they're going to need some type of lifeline, and I think they're going to get more out of being a US state, or at least a US territory, than being reabsorbed into Canada and then have a reckoning for their secession. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said Friday that his country would continue to conduct these complex negotiations in its best interest of Canadians. It's a negotiation. Yeah, good luck, buddy. I don't think you realize this is Trump. You just burned him. You burned him, so he's coming back with even more heat. Trump later said that he expects that Canada will remove the tax. Economically, we have such power over Canada. True. We'd rather not use it, Trump said in the Oval Office. It's not going to work out well for Canada. They were foolish to do it. It's not going to work out well. They were foolish to do it. When asked if Canada would do anything to restart talks, he suggested Canada could remove the tax, predicted it will, but said it doesn't matter to me. Goodness gracious, man. This man is just constantly aura farming and doesn't matter to me, man. Carney visited Trump in May at the White House. He was polite but firm. Trump last week traveled to Canada for the G7 summit in Alberta, where Carney said that Canada and the U.S. has set a 30-day deadline for trade talks. I bet Albertans were pretty happy to see Trump there. I'm telling you, if Alberta secedes, the next thing they need to do is establish relationships with the U.S. that will keep their sovereignty intact. That's my prediction. If they were to secede, the first thing they're going to have to do is become good with the U.S. And that might lead to statehood. Who knows? Digital services tax will hit companies including Amazon, Google, Meta, Uber, and Airbnb with a 3% levy on tax revenue from Canadian users. It will apply retroactively, leaving U.S. companies with a $2 billion U.S. bill due at the end of the month. Oh, hell no. Oh, see, it didn't seem like such a huge thing at first, just hearing, oh, it's a digital services tax. $2 billion at the end of the month? Are you insane? Okay, Ukraine. Yeah. We appreciate the administration's decisive response to Canada's discriminatory tax on U.S. digital exports, Matt Shores, chief executive of the Computer and Communications Industry Association, said in a statement. Canada and the U.S. have been discussing easing a series of steep tariffs Trump imposed on goods from America's neighbor. The Republican president earlier told reporters that the U.S. was soon preparing to send letters to different countries informing them of the new tariff rate his administration would impose on them. Trump has imposed 50% tariffs on steel and aluminum, as well as 25% tariffs on autos. He is charging a 10% tax on imports from most countries, though he could raise rates on July 9th, after the 90-day negotiating period he set would expire. Canada and Mexico face separate tariffs as much as 25% that Trump put into place under the auspices, not sure if I'm saying that correctly, of stopping fentanyl smuggling, though some products are still protected under the 2020 U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement signed during Trump's first term. I personally think it is a huge missed opportunity to rearrange some of those letters and make this the funniest agreement ever. If you know, you know. Addressing reporters after privately meeting with the Republican senators Friday, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent declined to comment on news that Trump had ended trade talks with Canada. I was in a meeting, Bessent said, before moving on to the next question. About 60% of the U.S. crude oil imports are from Canada, 85% of U.S. electricity imports as well. And you see, that's a huge problem, right? The fact that we do not produce the mass majority of our energy is extremely concerning. It puts us in a huge national security risk, and that doesn't mean you coddle to Canada. No, that means that we need to work on creating ourselves to be energy independent. Like that's staggering. That's horrible. And to the people that be like, well, that's why we need to play ball. We don't have a hand over Canada. No, it's because we aren't moving our hands. We have so much energy here in America, and we just need to unlock it. Canada is also the largest foreign supplier of steel, aluminum, and uranium to the U.S. and has 34 critical minerals and metals that the Pentagon is eager to obtain. All the more reason why Alberta should become a state of the U.S. We would treat them very nicely. About 80% of Canada's exports go to the U.S. Aha! See, so that's where our hand is, right? Yeah, we get a lot of this stuff from Canada, but you don't think that we can go without their raw supplies longer than they can go without our market? Because there are market alternatives to Canada to receive all of these things. Is it going to be as cheap? No. But guess what? We can buy from other people. They can't sell to other people. No one else on this earth is going to have the same market and capital to buy all these things from Canada. Daniel Belland, a political science professor at McGill University in Montreal, said it is a domestic tax issue, but has become the source of tensions between Canada and the United States for a while because of it targets U.S. tech giants. Yeah, obviously. The Digital Services Tax Act was signed into law a year ago, so the advent of this new tax has been known for a long time, Bellin said. Yet President Trump waited just before its implementation to create drama over it in the context of ongoing and highly uncertain trade negotiations between the two countries. No, I think you should have had more common sense in this. You're really going to slap a tax, or at least you should have postponed it. You want to get on our good side and then you slap a tax on us. Now, with that said, I think that this is still on the hand of Canada, but I could see where this political science professor is coming from. So there you have it, folks. Basically, because of this digital tax, America had to cut talks in the trade. Now, part of me thinks that this could also be a piece of Trump's plan, right? Because it's not just about getting the agreements that he wants, but getting them how he wants it. So when he comes with a snap decision like this, saying, hey, your tax is in the way, get rid of it, this is more of a test of, if I say to jump, how high are you going to jump? I think that's more of what's going on. Because yeah, Trump didn't just find out about this tax, but I think it's in his interest and the United States' interest to see how much flexibility do we have with Canada. Let's probe it a little bit. Let's test it. So if they remove this tax, it lets us know where we really stand with Canada. If they don't remove this tax, once again, it lets us know where we stand with Canada. So I just wanted to show you some stuff about Trump's tariff revenue, right? Because there's a lot of misinformation out there. Then they would have you believe that this is the crash of the market. Not true. In fact, we're at all-time highs in our stock market. We have rebounded from April, $9.8 trillion, right? And our revenue is going off the charts. So Yahoo Finance reports President Trump's tariffs are pouring billions into the U.S. coffers in June, putting the revenue supplied by importers on pace for another monthly record. The latest measure of government receipts for custom and certain excise taxes stood at almost $27 billion for the month of June, according to the Treasury Department's latest daily statement, June 25th. So one thing you got to know about tariffs is that most countries pay it like all at once, right? So that's why the Treasury Department releases it in daily statements, because you're likely to get a whole month's worth of tariffs on one day when a country pays those tariffs. The monthly total is likely to rise only slightly in the coming days, with importers often depositing their tariff duties in a single day, and June 24th statement showing a massive daily deposit of more than $19.9 billion. June's total so far has already topped May haul of about $22 billion, not to mention April and March's totals of $17.4 billion and $9.6 billion respectively. It is with continuation of revenue spikes seen during Trump's second term in office that are dwarfing counts from recent history, as well as amounts collected during Trump's first term. All told, more than $121 billion has flowed into government coffers since the start of this fiscal year. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick touted the pace of deposits earlier this week in a social media post that criticized the Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. And that guy is the one guy that actually stands in the way of Trump's agenda, right? Because Trump can't force Jerome Powell to do anything. He wants those interest rates to lower. Jerome refuses to lower them. But I think that we're in a market situation where the rates should lower, but the problem is they're not going to lower fast enough, and I think it's going to cost us votes in the midterm. This guy single-handedly stands in the way of the Trump's economic agenda. What he avoids discussing is the incredible revenue increase the U.S. has had from these tariffs, Lutnick said in his post, suggesting that the U.S. current run rate is far more than $30 billion per month. Now, guys, I want you to realize, that's a lot of money. That's so much money that it could feasibly put a dent into the debt. It wouldn't fix the debt problem. However, I think that it would at least slow down this enormous debt growth that we've had. And just to give you an idea of the US debt, here is the debt clock that counts it more or less in real time. The U.S. national debt is $37 trillion. Trillion with a T. So 30 billion per month is amazing. It's phenomenal. But it doesn't clear us of this debt. But I think that is a step in the right direction. So there you guys have it. Trump has cut talks with Canada, and we're going to see them either snap really quick and remove this tax, or they're going to feel the pain of these tariffs. Like I said, we can get everything they sell us from other market alternatives. They cannot sell into other markets, at least not at the same capacity at which they need the US. And to give you an idea with these tariffs, our tariff revenue is phenomenal. So either A, we get a good deal on these taxes, or B, this tariff revenue is just going up. But let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with my analysis? Do you agree, or do you disagree? And if you disagree, please comment, let me know, and maybe I can make a video on it. I always strive to learn more. I appreciate you guys that watch my content. Anyways, I'm Evan, this is the video, and I am out. Peace.